Let's go.
All right, what's going on? Welcome to the Failed Podcast. Here we are again. Thank you to all the listeners and everyone who's, just following us and helping us on this journey and what we're trying to do. And if you don't know what we're trying to do, we're just trying to bring some positivity through failures and challenges. It doesn't always have to be like secretive and quiet. That is how we learn, is when we fail. And so I like to talk about it. I like to bring interesting people on this podcast so that we can see where they're from, what they've learned, and, we can all learn from each other. There's only one thing that keeps that from happening is if we don't have conversations with each other. And so today I got two guests. They came all the way out from Dallas. They got a podcast. They're doing it. The funny guys. Great conversation we had off the air. And so I'm expecting even a better conversation on the air. So I'm going to allow you guys to introduce yourselves. Tell me your name, a little bit about yourself, and then jump right behind them so we can meet both of you.
All right, I guess I'll go first since you already went. So what's up, y'all? My name is Timothy. Born in Dallas.
Yeah.
Raised in Irving, Texas. Pretty much lived there my entire life. Never seen anything else. I'm born in 93. My theme song is Souls of Mischief, 93 Till Infinity. It's like one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I grew up, like the rest of us, in a broken home, or not like everybody, but
like a lot of people.
Grew up in a broken home. My parents divorced when I was about 5 or 6. So in those aspects, it was kind of a rough childhood.
Yeah.
But just me, myself, I've always been into like music and writing and sports, and I'm well-rounded. I'm into everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm into anime. I'm somebody that can sit here and have a conversation with you about Black history, and I can also have a conversation with you about Demon Slayer. You know what I'm saying? I like everything. But yeah, I'm just, we're well-rounded.
Well, cool, man. Welcome to the Failed Podcast. And obviously you two come in a pair. So your co-host, I don't even know who the co-host. Both of you are hosts.
I guess you could say we both the main hosts.
Yeah, we both the main hosts.
Yeah.
Go for it, man. Tell us a little about yourself.
So my name is Taylorean Quaye. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Mom, born and raised here. Dad from Ghana, West Africa. Mm-hmm. So a little bit about me. I'm deep into music. I always say I'm a hip hop head, but I'm really a music head. Yeah. Like African music, reggae, gospel music, hip hop, everything. I probably listen to everything but like country. And then there's a few country songs I probably do like. But man. I'm born and raised, seen a little bit, Air Force veteran. Was in the Air Force for 5 years. Lived in Cali 4.5. What else? That's just a few things about me. Just trying to do this podcast thing with my brother, and we just, trying to grow and evolve, and just see how far we can take it, and it's just be welcoming to people, just to have great conversations and artists that we love, and like I was saying earlier, just quality over quantity.
Let's just say, like, when your podcast blows up, man, you got to impact. Who's the first guest, if you could have any guest that you would have on?
Russ the rapper. So for me, I have a big thing. So me and him, we're so big on hip hop, and I would like to say that we're anti-industry, pro-artist.
Got it.
We believe in the artist.
Yeah.
The industry is broken right now, and the first person I would want to talk to is Russ. I want to talk to all the people that are anti-industry. Yeah,
man. So T&T Podcast. Tell me how y'all came up with the name. It's obvious, obviously, but I'm just asking how you came to, hey, we want to do a podcast. Me and you flow, and we can talk. I feel like we got good vibes. How did that conversation start? Because the reason I'm asking, because there's a lot of people out there right now launching podcasts, right? But they'll launch and then burn and crash, if they don't have a good co-host or a good vision. So in the very beginning, what brought y'all together, and then what set your path?
Yeah. And I just want to say one thing too. Chemistry is important.
Absolutely.
It's very, very important. But I'll take it back to the beginning, man. We met 2013 at Northlake. We went to community college together. And we quickly learned that we both had the same like taste in music. Like the way you said he's a music head, I'm a music head too. And so really how it started is a lot of people would hear our conversations about music and they would tell us that they loved you know, what we would be talking about. And so the first idea that we had was to start a YouTube channel. We wanted to start a YouTube channel, and we wanted to do album reviews. We wanted to review hip hop albums. And shout out to a YouTube channel that we watched. The inspiration came from Dead in Hip Hop. A bunch of guys that actually review albums. And that idea kind of fell through. There's a lot of it's a big market for that. There's a lot of people that do that. Y'all might know the Needle Drop, one of the biggest ones. So we did that kind of fell through. He ended up going to the Air Force, and then fast forward all the way to 2020, COVID happened. I got laid off from my job. I was working for the Department of Education at the time. They stopped all the student loans and everything like that, so I was out of a job. And I was at home one day, and I texted my boy, and I was like, yo, this is the perfect time. Like, this is the perfect time to do something. So we were just like, how did we come up with the name? Because I know we thought of different names at first, and then we was like, Timothy Taylorean. Timothy Taylorean, T&T. So we just came up with T&T. A friend of ours had introduced us to the Anchor app. So we downloaded the Anchor app, and we were recording. I don't know about you, but I was recording in my mom's closet. For the first like 60 or so episodes. And after that, we started on Zoom, and then we started bringing guests on, and then we started to kind of take it a little bit more serious. And we were like, yo, I think we have something here.
And in the closet, bro?
In the closet. In my mom's closet.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
In my mom's closet.
From your perspective, how did it happen? Like, how did you realize that y'all had chemistry? You know, coming from like loving hip hop, watching collabs, like chemistry is so important, man. Like when it's not there, man, you ain't gonna ever collab. And so
before we even had a podcast, and we worked at Target together, and we worked at Target at the same time around. Well, I was only at Target like 3 years, but like he had been at Target like a little bit longer than I had been. So we started to realize like we both love hip hop, and we used to go to a lot of concerts together. So that's kind of where it all started. It was started with the concerts, a lot of hip hop concerts. So we probably went to about like a good 20 concerts here in Dallas. Like R&B and hip hop more so. So that's kind of where the origins of it begin. Like just the conversation about hip hop. Like, oh, so and so's coming, trying to go together. So we went. So and then that's really where it started, just off the love of the music, and we noticed we love the same artists. Like we were real big into Wu-Tang, Nas, just, you know, we're deep into like a lot of old school hip hop, like the 90s. So that's the thing, like we like new stuff and old stuff, and then we started to realize we liked a lot of the same stuff. So we went to a lot of concerts of people that were, I guess, you know, people not into like quote unquote real hip hop, whatever that means to some people. I
know that people use that term, and we get very confused because do you go back to when it was born, or do you go back to whenever, you know, they got it together and it was working? Because, you know, a baby's born and he don't start walking until 9 months a year in, and you're like, now he's moving. And so we can go back to the start, but then who kind of was the beginning where you can say this is where hip hop got established?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about me. Like, I go back even further before like hip hop, like when it was like jazz and James Brown leading into creating hip hop. Like I'm deep into that too. Like I'm deep into before hip hop even came into play.
They say soul hip hop is really soul music. I mean, really. So we're talking about like the Marvin Gayes and stuff like that. They were all
who paved the way for African Americans to be able to perform and be accepted.
Exactly.
They opened the door. And then hip hop came. Okay, I see.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're into all of that. Like that's why I love KRS-One so much, because he teaches like what. That's why his name is The Teacher. He teaches on before what hip hop was and what hip hop is now, and where the origins of what it came from. So I think we're into all of that. So we started calling it like, you know, like it was a hip hop podcast, but really it's about the culture. We talk about everything.
Got it.
Like I even have a friend that we're gonna bring on one day that he specifically talks about money. Like he makes like $300,000+ a year, and he works in the financial industry, and we're gonna have just a bunch of questions about what do people need to invest in, and what Roth IRAs and stuff like that. So we talk about hip hop, but we really want to make it like broad topics, and then of course we want to bring on artists that we love.
Oh yeah,
that are like, you know, like I said, quality over
which we already
quality
have.
over quantity.
Shout out to them.
Yes.
Now, give me how do people find your podcast? What do they look up? What do they type? And then as y'all say it, I'm going to put it on the description below. How can people find y'all?
So it is pretty difficult because T&T was kind of hard,
man. We'll make it simple.
Might have to put on our actual names, you know?
Right? Yeah. Well, actually, so what I had to do was I had to actually put a comma and then a podcast by Timothy and Taylorean. So sometimes you may have to type out the whole entire thing, T&T, comma, a podcast by Timothy and Taylorean, and you can find that on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, of course, Anchor, if you want to listen to it on there.
Yeah.
But yeah. And you can find us on Instagram, of course. We still have not created a T&T page on Instagram yet.
Yeah,
so
that's coming soon. We're going to do that soon.
That's coming.
Well, I'll put some links below to keep it simple. You don't have to type it all out, you know, and people can scope y'all out. You know, when I met y'all, you know, we met at this function, and it was great. You know, your vibe just hit me right, man. I was just like, man, these cats came, sat next to me, and we just started talking, because I felt a little out of place there, because, you know, I didn't really know no one. I felt like I showed up on accident, and so, but I got to meet y'all. Y'all had some good energy, and we've been kind of talking on social, trying to make this happen, and finally y'all guys came through.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
obviously my door's always open to y'all and podcasters around the area, trying to help each other out. And make this thing more real, so, you know, they can take Texas and, you know, this area more serious. You know what I'm saying? And so we about to take over. You know, that's all I can say. So growing up, okay, in life, we go through a lot of challenges that make us. Okay, y'all seem cool right now. You know, y'all got good communication. Y'all funny, and y'all got a podcast. And being creative in public with that creativity, that's hard, man. Because that's when you open the door up for judgment. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people can't take it. But the people that can, is because they got some thick skin. They've been through some things, right?
Right.
And so let me go there with it. Growing up, and whoever wants to go first, just go. Tell me some of the challenges that y'all have been through, some of the failures maybe that y'all have had that make you who you are today. Because there's a young guy right now listening that literally is going through the challenge of failure y'all went through, and they're like, man, it ain't gonna lead nowhere. And here y'all are, man. I see y'all got confidence. Y'all got good vibes. And y'all want to conquer the world, you know what I mean? And that's a good thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But where did it come from? Where did some of these things get developed in each of you?
Oh man, for me, I can definitely say, growing up, I had to have thick skin. You know what I'm saying? I had to have thick skin, because I was always the oddball out. You know what I mean? Like how I was telling you before we started with writing, I was the kid that would be in the room, and I would staple notebook paper together, and I would just write short stories, and it could be about anything. It could be about real life situations. It could have been about Pokemon.
Yeah.
It could have been about anything. So growing up, I heard, you know, a lot of people tease me. A lot of people tease me. A lot of people said things about me. Of course,
now, when you say tease, are you like, it's like bullying, like that level, or was it like?
I don't want to say bullying, just
scoring. They definitely did a lot of scoring.
We called it scoring. So we would just talk about like each other in like the worst way that we possibly could, and it would always kind of come back to me the most, because I was always the oddball out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't play sports or anything like that.
And it's crazy that you say the oddball out, and then I use the word bullying, but you know, whenever people miss with someone, they don't realize how much it hurts someone. And someone may just hold it in for 5-10 years and never speak about it until later in their life, and then say, you know what, you know, my friends did me wrong, man, when I was growing up, and I'm realizing that now. And so just thank you for sharing that, and maybe elaborate a little bit more on it. But it's important, like parents right now are listening, and their kids they're getting talked to a certain way. And they don't know that the kid doesn't even know how to share it. They don't even know how to say, Mom, you know, they're picking on me because of how I walk, or because of how I look, or how I play this or that. And man, it hurts somebody.
Yes.
It really does. Talk to me a little bit more.
It really does. It really does. And the thing is like, as a child, especially a person of color, you don't even know how. Like, you don't even know how to even talk about trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even know where to begin. And like, they don't teach us at a young age to like deal with your trauma or anything like that, or therapy and things like that. And one of the things with this podcast,
toughen up, man, just toughen up. You know, that's it.
Exactly. That's it. They tell you that, and that's what we kind of go by, you know what I'm saying, for the rest of our lives. And in some ways, you know, it can create thick skin. Like for me, it did create thick skin, but for some people, what you said is absolutely correct. Like it can really break a person down. It can really break a person. Yeah. And so for me, like I've just been I've been on a journey of just trying to find self-love, man. Like people really need to learn how to show themselves compassion a lot more often. I think a lot of people are so quick to we're quick to show other people compassion and forgive other people, but we won't do that for ourselves. And if you keep beating yourself up, you know what I'm saying, you're going to eventually break at some point. And that's what I went through. And with this podcast platform, I just want younger black men and everybody. I want everybody to know that you're not indifferent. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you're interested in, whatever it is that you love, don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't let anybody take that away from you. And that's what I want to do with this podcast. I just want everybody to know that whatever it is that you're into, whatever it is that you're interested in, go for it.
Be yourself.
Go for it. Be great. Be yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's it. That's
you know, I think about being in school and they say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you say some ridiculous things that it don't line up with your culture, your family, let alone your parents' education. And then, but you're blurting things out without knowing anything.
Yes.
And if I was young and I said, man, you know what? I want to speak to the public when I get older. And podcasting didn't exist back then. But imagine if I would have said it. You know what I mean? Like they would have been like, Sam, you crazy. You can't even put a sentence together. You can't even read a book. And so sometimes who you are in the moment, it has nothing to do with who you're going to be in the future. Because we develop ourselves to get there, man. But I just hate it when people, you know, face challenges like that and it shuts them down and maybe keeps them from entering that space, you know, where you're like, you find yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Hit me, man. What you got? Something growing up, challenges?
I would say it's kind of similar to Timothy. You know, just what I would say is we moved a lot.
Yeah.
So trying to make friends and then leave friends and then, you know, trying to, you know, adapt to
new schools and
your
stuff.
school, your area, the people, the demographic, the people you're growing up around. Like I went from like at one point growing up in the hood to like being around people of all races. And so it's like you got to learn how to deal with like that change. And sometimes that change can be hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, just talking to people and, you know, sometimes like he just said, they'll like say something about you and, you know, that's just their regular way of talking, you know, and you just like, I'm not used to that, like being talked about on a regular basis, so I gotta come with something eventually to say something back to him. But then you start to realize that's not me. Yeah, that's not the kind of person I want to be. That's not even me. And it's just off of just you being you. Like I used to get scored on about wearing the same shoes, and I used to be like, I'm like, but do you pay for all your shoes you wear? Like you don't have a job. We're in middle school. Yeah. Like I was like, wow. So it's going deeper than me. It's going like to my parents really. Yeah. They trying to say something about the way.
That's a challenge, bro.
That's hard. You know, that's really hard.
I had a group of friends when we were young and they wore the same shoes all the time. And I mean till they were gone, dude. Like they looked bad. Like they stank from far away. That's how long they wore them. But you would have never known that their parents were working hard, setting up the future. And they're sitting nice now, but I could feel you about that, looking and judging someone based on their shoes. But you know, that's a challenge that we face where people will attack you.
Yeah,
and they don't, and even the kid that has a bunch of shoes, and they're like, "I got the new J's, and I got all this." They don't. No one understands. Maybe their parents are struggling just to keep up with appearances.
Yeah, exactly.
And I kind of feel like growing up that it was me. Like, it was like that too. You know, if I had something new, I didn't appreciate it, and so on. But tell me this, okay? I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
What did wearing the same shoes, okay, I'm going to assume they look wore out at some point, right? Like you beat them up a little bit.
I only probably got like maybe two pair of shoes a year maybe.
Yeah. What did that do for you? In the culture now where it's like, nah, man, new shoes all the time. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but there's something positive that goes with, yeah, I got 2 pairs. What did it teach you?
Like, even to this day, like I probably have like 20 pair of shoes right now. Yeah. But that just taught me, like he was just saying, thick skin. I got thick skin, so at this point in life, I'm not materialistic. Honestly, I'm a minimalist. I like nice things, but I'm not a materialistic person. And I started to realize, like, people that are around people and they just see material things. They're not valuing people as a person. And I love people. I love real people, you know. And there's nothing wrong with stuff, with like having nice stuff, but I'm not into stuff. I'm into experiences. So,
it's crazy because your podcast, you know, your vibe is kind of in the hip hop culture realm, and it seems to be like the opposite of that, where it's about things. You know what I mean? Now, there's a few artists very minimal, but maybe we don't hear about them. Maybe they're not in, you know, pop culture, but. So how do you feel about that? You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're like a minimalist and you're saying it's not about things, but the people you're looking at and listening to, you know, man, they're about things.
Yeah. So
we listen to what they say.
Yeah, that's the thing. What we're big on. That's the thing. Like when we listen to people, because when I always say I listen to real hip hop, I mean like the Black Stars and, you know, the people that don't talk about materialistic things. Even though I listen to that sometimes, that's a very small like percentage of my playlist. Like it really is, because you know, people, they want to hear the glitz and glam, they want a better life, they want to think about that, but that's the thing, I like listening to the essentials that's going to get you to the better life. I'm not like, people want to hear the glitz and glamour every day, but that's not their life. Like I listen to what's like, I can identify with what's going on with me at this point today. That's what mainly is in my playlist. So that's the thing about me. Like, and I know hip hop now, it's like, you know, we have all these subgenres, but we do have that category of hip hop that talks about real things, that talks about mental health, that talks about the daily life of just being a person, just trying to make it in life every day. But I listen to that, but that's a very small part of my playlist, because it's like I said, the essentials to get you to that, but it's not. That's not my main type of music. My main music is like real things, real topics, real life. You know,
I like it. How do you feel about the hip hop culture and the way people portray it? You know, because the way when I talk to y'all like, man, it's the writing, it's the producing, it's like, what was their last album? You know, there's a lot more to it, but a lot of people will approach it and, man, look at it on a very superficial level, and that's kind of almost disrespectful, because we never want to be looked at like that, you know. And so, what is that? Does that ever come up? Have you ever thought about that?
Oh yeah, all the time. Superficial is the perfect word to use, because we live in a generation now where that's what everything is. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants stuff that's not real, like what he said. And to me, it's a huge issue, because there are a lot of people from the younger generation who are so influenced by these images that they see, things that some of these rappers talk about in their music, and you have a lot of young kids who are losing their lives because of this. And I think it's a real issue, but I'm the same as him. You know, I try to, one thing I will say is I've learned a lot through hip hop. Hip hop has taught me a lot about Black history, a lot history in general, period. And more of what we try to pay attention to is what's being said, the production, and we like to go back to like the Black Stars and things like that. Kendrick just released a new album talking about mental health. I think that's very important. Sometimes albums like that can fall on deaf ears because people want to hear the superficial stuff. So you know, you have all these arguments about people going back and forth between, you know, underground rap and mainstream rap and all that kind of stuff. And I think if you just sit down and like really try to find music that speaks to you, you will find it. You will find it. It's there. It's out there for you. But if you just want all the superficial stuff, then that's all you're going to see.
So now y'all know music, man. I heard y'all on your podcast and y'all talking about producers. How do y'all explore music? Like, what parameters do y'all give yourselves to, like, when y'all look at an album? What are some challenges that y'all face so that y'all can come at it like real? So y'all don't get, let's say, tricked. You know what I mean? By some nonsense.
For me, it's not too difficult for me, because I already kind of know the artists that I listen to, so I know what I'm looking for those from those specific artists. So normally, like, if, like, let's take the Kendrick album for example. If I'm looking at the feature list and I'm looking at I go straight to the I go straight to the credits and everything. I'm trying to see
on the back. If it's a CD, you're reading who did it.
Yeah, if it's a CD, I'm reading. When I used to buy hard copy CDs, I would take the booklet out and I would look and see like the credits.
Same.
I would look at the producers and all that kind of stuff. All of that is important, and not just important for me, but also important for the music.
Yeah,
it's important for the music. And I will say it is difficult now because a lot of the music that's coming out is like created like fast food. It's like it's like quick. So you kind of just have to figure out who it is that you like and what you like, what sound you like.
How about you? Give me some insight into your exploring. Now I know you told me you explore like a lot of music and genres. It makes sense, but you keep coming back. You're floating around hip hop because it's in culture. Like people don't realize, man, like they look at hip hop and they'll just find the negative in it, but it impacts and influences every aspect.
It does.
I mean, you can walk in the Gap or Nike and it is felt. You know what I mean? Like so much has changed since I was a kid to now, and a lot of it has to do with hip hop, whether people want to admit it or not. And the reason I'm setting it up like that is because hip hop relates to a culture. It relates to a people.
Yes.
But they're trying to disconnect the people and they just want to focus on the culture.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? And I just feel like, nah, man, it's like it's a people that have done it.
Absolutely.
And maintain. Now we're learning. I'm not say we in general, but they're learning along the way. Just like every other culture or subculture.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about hip hop and its development and how powerful it is now?
I think it's very powerful. I mean, hip hop is probably still one of the youngest genres, and I think that's what it is. I think, like you just said, people are still learning. Yeah. So it's really like compartmentalizing a bunch of stuff because it's like it's a genre that hasn't been here that long. So it's like you got to know how to like separate the superficial from the real. You just kind of gotta I don't know. I guess you just gotta be a certain person already. That's gonna, because if you're somebody that's just kind of getting new into hip hop, and you listen to a bunch of superficial things, you're not gonna really know. And like if all of the radio is all you listen to, and you just don't know, like that's gonna be like, oh, let me do what they doing. It's like that's not real life. But I think it just probably depends on the person. You kind of got to know who you are almost just to kind of adapt to like what hip hop is. Because hip hop, like I just said, has a bunch of subgenres, and you got to kind of look for certain things. Certain things is not literally like in the mainstream realm. And some stuff is like you just go off mainstream. That's like TV. Like you just go off like reality shows or whatever. You just like, this ain't really real life. It's like it might be their lives, it's not your life. And so people be wanting to do things that's not really their life, and so it's like you kind of got to know how to like separate real life from like fantasy. And I think a lot of people are painting fantasies, but and that's the crazy part, a lot of fantasies that they're painting is not even their life, and that's what's even crazier. And people are like dying off of just a fantasy that somebody painted that's not even their life. So that's the thing I think it is. It's like you got to really know who you are. Like when you're getting into certain things, you got to know like, okay, they talking about this, but that's not really real, and that's not, you got to know you. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is about hip hop. You got to know who you are, and music in general. You got to know who you are. So you won't like fall into these pit holes of just like, oh, they're talking about this, so you got to take certain things with a grain of salt. You can't take everything into just like what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Let me hit y'all with something, okay? So there's a lot of folks listening, and then maybe the parents or so, they don't understand music, whatever genre. But we're gonna focus on hip hop, okay? And the kids are listening to stuff, and the parents' natural reaction is, dude, don't listen to that, man. That ain't no good. Go do this or do that, and there's just like this negative push against it, okay?
Right.
So I'm gonna name 3 artists for y'all. Okay, y'all take it how y'all chop it up however y'all want. Okay, but I'm about to surprise y'all. Okay,
I'm ready to hear it.
Go. And with these 3 artists, there's a lot of young kids listening to it, and parents are gonna push back on it because they don't understand the artistry, and the genius behind it. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go Tupac. Okay, we're gonna go Nipsey. And then we're gonna go Drake. Okay.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
and the reason I feel like these guys, and you said you like to write and you wrote when you were young, you understand the back behind the music, beautiful things. For me, these guys are geniuses. Okay, and their avenue for sharing it was hip hop, was music, right? But a lot of people, boy, they would don't listen to it.
Right.
How do you define these three people? What makes them more than the way that the society sees them?
I think definitely Tupac and Nipsey Hussle were just it's we always talk about it. It's what they stood for. It's what Tupac stood for. It's what Nipsey stood for. And Drake is just great, just everywhere, all around the board. But I think you have to kind of take a step outside of just the music and learn who these people were and what they stood for and what they meant. When we talk about Nipsey Hussle, I remember the first time I heard Nipsey Hussle. It was when he released his Crenshaw mixtape. You remember that?
Yeah.
He released his Crenshaw mixtape, and he released them for $100 a pop. And it broke the internet. We were all like, who is this guy? Who is Nipsey Hussle? This guy is crazy.
Yeah.
And then Jay-Z comes by and buys 100 copies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I see.
Taking it serious.
I see what he's doing with this independence. I see what he's doing with pushing the artist. He has the Marathon Shop in his hometown, and he created jobs for his community, entrepreneurship, and all that kind of stuff. And you have to really look at who these people were. Same thing with Tupac. Tupac was a revolutionary. He did a lot. He said a lot of controversial stuff, but it was a lot of stuff that people wanted to say, but they just didn't have the balls to say it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And same thing with Drake. With Drake has been able to do something in the music industry that no other artist has been able to do. Maybe Jay-Z, maybe. Yeah. And so Jay-Z
got longevity on everyone. I feel that's the one thing that's separate. I mean, I understand Snoop there and Dre, but they're not like
Jay-Z's different.
Yeah. Like if Tupac would have still been around, he would have been right there. Like it would have been crazy, man. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. And let me just tell you, I'm a Jay-Z guy. You know, I'm a big Jay-Z. I think Jay-Z is the GOAT.
Yeah.
But Drake, what he's been able to do in our generation is something that's I feel is unprecedented. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what it is. Just stop hearing, just the lyrics and what they're saying and actually learn about the person. Learn about what they've done. Nipsey Hussle, in his short time here, has done a lot. And a lot of the music industry now has changed because of him. You have guys like Rock Marciano who are, what they're doing is they're saying, if I'm going to go to the studio and spend all this time, write this music... My bad.
You good.
Write this music and record this album for you guys. You guys can pay me pay me for it. So they're charging $20, $30 a pop for it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Nipsey started that. So yeah, man, just learn about the people.
I feel like there's so much behind the artist. There's so much industry. There's so many other people that launch businesses. There's so it's just the influence and motivation in the neighborhood. Where kids can be like, man, there's a way out. And I'm creative, but a lot of them don't finish just at rapping. It's just the way out. You know what I mean? It could be clothing design. It could be graphic design. It could be videos. It's wide open. It's like hip hop landed in this day and age. It's perfect for this day and age, man. I don't know how it would have did back in the 40s and 50s, but right now it's strong, man.
Yeah, man.
Tell me how you feel about those three artists and how people portray them, but how they really define culture.
So I know people to portray like Nipsey as just like dealing with gang culture, but I'm like, nah, he was an entrepreneur. He was even before he died. He was about to do a documentary on Dr. Sebi, and that goes deeper than just hip hop. That's about health, and so he was going deeper than just the hip hop realm. And that's the thing. I listened to Nipsey's music, but I was actually watching more interviews of Nipsey than the music I was listening to. Yeah, so I would always hear him speak all the time. So that's the thing. I listen to music, but I be trying to get deep into this artist, like interview wise. I'm like, what are they going to talk about in this? Are they going to talk about something superficial? I go back to a lot of Tupac interviews. That's another thing about Tupac. I go back to a lot of his interviews and I'm like, let's see the things he's talking about. And he talked about the rich and the poor. He talked about so much. And then that's another, and then like with Drake is just that person that's kind of just like, he knows how to like move within this generation. Like he knows what's gonna like hit the generation more than like even though I love Kanye more than Drake, and I love Drake, but I'm saying Drake knows how to speak to a generation, and he has that influence. Like that's just the thing. It's like with those three artists, they have like this influence that even if you don't like them, it's like they have this lane of influence that like only like that lane of people they gonna listen like regardless. They just diehards. And so like those three people, those are three good people that you named.
Well, it's funny because you know I listen to, now I'm not a big country fan, but I mean I listen to country, you know. I know quite a bit, but I've never had the desire like but let me drop it like this, okay? Like I enjoy it, I jam out. The stories sometimes they're funny, but I never woke up the next day and said, "Man, I want to buy a ranch and a horse." You know what I mean? Because I'm able to separate that. And there's this problem from my perspective that when it's hip hop, they don't separate that, and it's just like, dude, that's just where Nipsey grew up. Right. Like his mom or whatever, they had no money. They're in the hood. Like that's just where he grew. He's not going to talk about ranching and stuff. Like, but you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, but people don't know how to separate that this is who I am. This is where I grew up. This is not, but now there's a creative side of me. Right. And that kind of helps you get out. But you know what I mean? And so they just put a lot of pressure on that music promoting gang life or whatever, you know, just like a negative lifestyle. And I'm just like, bro, man, I listen to country and you don't see me riding no horse. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because I understand it, that it's something creative. Is there a challenge between accepting the creative part of music and then and then the individual? Because sometimes it's two different. Sometimes it's two different people. You know, sometimes you're just supposed to hear the creative. How do you see that?
For the casual fan or for somebody who's not too familiar with hip hop, I think it's difficult because they don't know how this started. What you said is very important about rappers telling their stories. I argue with people about this all the time. A lot of people will tell me that music that you listen to is so negative, it's so evil, it's so this, it's so that. These artists are just telling their stories of where they came from. They're not trying to tell you, hey, go out there and go shoot somebody. I don't think that's the point. You're missing the point. They're trying to tell you where they came from. And I think a lot of people just hear what's being said. They take that and they run with it. We're big interview people. A lot of the stuff that we talk about on our podcast is not just from what they're saying in their music. It's from what they say in their interviews. You can find a lot of great information about these artists in their interviews, especially Nipsey Hussle with the Dr. Sebi thing. And that's just at least kind of jumping into the mind of that individual. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And sometimes that can actually help you take in the music differently.
Exactly.
You can listen to the music with a different ear. So I don't know, man. I'm just somebody who just loves hip hop. And
I think it goes a little. It's like I love hip hop. I think it goes even deeper than hip hop for me. I think it just goes people. Just knowing people, talking to people. That's the thing. I'm big on talking to people. That's why I was glad we met you, because I'm like, I like talking to people. I like getting into the minds of people.
No, I mean, look, man, if I'm about to do something crazy, go play some basketball or something, you know, I like the classics, but I won't put the classics on. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put Nipsey on because I'm about to go in, and so music has a way of helping you emotionally, right? And we all, you know, we were talking about mental health and Kendrick dropping his last album and kind of touching on that subject. Music helps in so many ways, right? In life. Tell me a time in your life where it was like a challenge or something. What album or music kind of helped you get through something, you know, whether it be a breakup or a move or something, man. Either one, whoever got one.
Man, I remember when me and him were working at Target, and man, like I just felt like I was just, you know how sometimes you just feel like you kind of in like a vicious cycle sometimes. So it was certain days where I was just like, it wasn't really work stuff. It was just like, it would be stuff like in the family dealing, and then also just going to work, and I was just like, I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over, and it's just not. And music was helping me get through it, like I would say maybe like Common's album Resurrection, or like Nas's Illmatic, or like early Jay-Z, Wu-Tang, like 36 Chambers. What else? Just, it was so much conscious music, like Black Star. Like it was so much conscious music that I was just like, this is my reality. Like they're talking about things I think about every day. I'm talking about just trying to make it as a black man in America, trying to figure out and navigate life every day, trying to get to the next level, knowing like I don't want to just be here for 10, 20 years. I want to elevate. I want to go somewhere else. I know it's life outside of just being here where I grew up or just where I'm working. I know there's another level. So those are some of the albums they like helped me get through, and I was just like, why is just life feeling like just the cycle of just the same thing? I was like, sometimes you're gonna go through the same thing every day, but it's like I want a different same thing, like I want to elevate. So that was another reason like I joined the Air Force. Like it was just like hip hop helped me get through that, like and get to that next level. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, let me go somewhere else. Let me change something. Ended up going to California.
Seen some things.
Yeah, saw some stuff. Went to Abu Dhabi, Dubai. I was just like, man, hip hop helped me get through that, dude, and push to go that level. Like I was like, that's deep. Like that's how deeply music affects me. Like, hip hop. Yeah, like that's real.
I have plenty, but I'll give you the most recent one. The Kendrick album that just came out, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, is a phenomenal album because it's reflecting everything that I've been going through the past 2 years of my life. The past 2 years has been pretty rough, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but just the fact that he is speaking on mental health. Mental health is a serious problem. It's a serious problem. A lot of people have died, man. A lot of people have died from mental health, and I tell him that I relate to pretty much everything that he's talking about on that album, and I think a lot of young black men could really benefit off of at least just trying to give that a chance. And he's trying to tell us that we're all the same. We're all the same. We all have trauma, and we all have to learn how to deal with it. And it really, one thing that I love about it is it pushes self-love, which is what I spoke on earlier. I'm with my journey right now, I'm learning more and more about self-love. I didn't really have a lot of self-love before, so I'm learning that now. But yeah, this album, it really, really spoke to me different, very different.
So let's take another turn, and y'all just tell me which direction. The black man, the African American man, the challenges that exist, they've been existing for a long time. It's a touchy subject, but I feel like this is a pretty good round table right here. There's a lot of people listening right now. They have a challenge, breaking some bad habits, breaking some bad terminology, understanding of people, cultures, and so on. And I'm a Latino, and so
we face the hardest challenges, us too.
Yeah, and I mean, I went through a lot, especially like with immigration and stuff coming up. The way people looked at me and my parents, and growing up, like I remember how people would talk to my mom. They would literally talk down to her, and there was a language stain. I'm not comparing the Latino culture to the African American culture, but I understand that we have some challenges.
It's similarities though, because my dad, he's from Africa. Because people have asked me, how do you feel about immigrants? I was like, my dad is an immigrant. I love immigrants. I was like, there would be no America without immigrants. Like they asked me, because I'm like, and they be like Latino immigrants. I was like, I love immigrants. I wouldn't be on earth without an immigrant.
Don't look at America today. Look at America when it began.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I'm not smart enough for that. But let me ask y'all this, okay? There's challenges that we all face as a culture. As a culture. But my thing is self-love, right? Community, things like that, all important. But I still see a big problem with communities getting to know each other. Talking and understanding each other. I think music does that. Music helps so much. But what are some of the challenges as black men being creatives and opening y'all opening subjects on your podcast, and which is great. What are some challenges that y'all facing that y'all feel like we want to make a change, or we're in it for the fight from here forward? Like, we know this is reality. What would you like to change, or what are you seeing that's a challenge?
For me, I mean, of course, we're still dealing with, racism and all of that stuff. We've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. But the thing, I guess you could say that's one of the challenges. But I guess what I'm trying to do better is I want our podcast to be like a platform where people can talk about that. And then I want to be a person that's more like involved in the community. I'm actually trying to be like a person that's like feet on concrete, like in the streets, wanting to talk to people. Like we can work together, not as just black men, but like a human race. We can talk, just getting a perspective on like, what do you go through, or how are you feeling? And just knowing that like things out here are real, like we're dealing with something, like, because a lot of people, Latino and black men and Latino men, I would say they put us like at the bottom of the totem pole the most, probably out of any in America. At least that's what I feel. And like I think that's just one thing. Like we got to come together. The black men and Latino men, we got all the races got to come together. But I think definitely us. We gotta have dialogue. We gotta be there for each other. We gotta actually talk to people. We gotta actually like build relationships, and make like have platforms like this where we just talk about it. Really, just creating more dialogue and actually like doing things to make changes, like out physically making changes, like voting and being involved in the community, and just talking more. I feel like dialogue is what makes change. That's my thing. I just creating more dialogue and having people on and just supporting people, just helping them. Like if they're trying to do a petition, or if they're trying to do something, like we can, as a black community, Latino community, we could come together and like make that change together. What do you think? What
do you think is our weakness or our challenge? Like the black community, the Latino community. What are the challenges? Like where does like even just to come to the table?
So I think I think we have to acknowledge that. I think we have to acknowledge the thing about mental health. I think we have to actually like not be afraid to talk about mental health, because I think that's the thing. I think black men and Latino men, I think they put us at the bottom of the totem pole, but I think they do that because we don't like to talk about it the most. We try to like hold in feelings. I can't speak for every black and Latino man, but I feel like they put us.
You got the mic right now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I just feel like they put us there because we don't want to talk about it. I guess they like we put all of this weight and all of this pressure on ourselves, and it's like head of the household, or they look at the man like as the the leader, the whatever. But it's like, we can't be afraid to be vulnerable and talk. And I think that's the thing we got to be better at, like admitting that things are going on and talking to each other, and then going to therapy also, like having a close-knit family or your friends or whatever, like having that group of people around you that you're not afraid to like speak on things that you're going through. And so that's what I think. I think we just got to create dialogue and have people not be afraid to talk about it, and not be afraid to go to therapy and seek mental health counseling and stuff like that. I think that'll help all of us, like honestly. And even if you don't think you need it, I think you should just go just to see.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. Communication is it. Like we have to have communication. And when he's saying therapy, you don't have to go sit down with, because a lot of people will tell you, I don't want to go sit down with somebody that I don't know. That okay, well go do therapy with your friend. Go talk to your friend about your issues. Go talk to your mom. Go talk to your parents. And one thing that we try to do with the podcast is we try to kind of push for a lot of different like black initiatives and things like that, that we could, or that people could help out around the community and stuff like that. So we want to do that. We want to bring people on the podcast that can talk about like communicate and talk, and everything that he said, you hit it right on the nail. Communication is the thing. We're lacking communication and love.
Now, okay, so a lot of people will avoid the conversation of racism or challenges that other cultures face. How would someone, and again, that's the challenge. To me, that's the failure. It's like, dude, I want to talk to, my black friends about something that I felt uncomfortable with, but I can't because they're scared, because they don't know how to have the conversation. What are some common things that y'all see that you're like, and it's going to be, it's funny, but it's serious. Like, he might be a little racist. Okay. But here's my thing. A little racist is just lacking understanding. So when you feel that, what do you do? Like, how should someone approach that subject and say, you know, I need to teach someone, as opposed to saying, man, just forget them. Do we still want to teach someone, or will we just get mad right away?
No, you don't want to get mad you don't want to get mad right away. You want to try to find a common ground. You know, you want to try to find a common ground. I mean, if someone is making racist comments and they don't know that they're being racist, well, let them know. Like, let them know, like, this is not the way that you go about this. Like, you know, I don't know how we're going to figure out how to go about this, but, you know, we can try to, you know, find some type of common ground with each other. And I think that's the problem. A lot of people are afraid, and a lot of people are only about self. A lot of people don't even want to take a step into your shoes to even understand, you know, like where you come from, or like what you've been through, anything like that. So, yeah, like just try to find a common ground and create those, create an environment to where it's not like overly aggressive or anything like that. Like, you know, and just have the talk. Just have the talk.
So I'm gonna hit y'all with something and see what y'all think, okay, y'all? But y'all hit me with some real stuff here. There's some statements that people say that people, it's the line is thin, bro, and you don't know, is it racism? Is it hate? Is it funny? Okay, so there's a statement that I heard recently, okay, and the guy's hopefully gonna be listening. So because I wanted to teach, I was like, dude, you're wrong.
Yeah,
but I want to hear it from y'all.
Okay.
People are watching. Yeah. Okay. And again, we're cool. It's all good. And he said, I don't know how it came up, but he said black people don't swim.
Yo.
Wait. We were swimming. There was fun going on, and he said it out of nowhere. Okay, several things I know. I mean, I was like, dude, like, to me, I'll call that out quick because first of all, there was no context. Yeah. First of all, we ain't hanging around with a bunch of brothers and we're just having fun. Yeah. Okay, it wasn't that either. Yeah. But it came out of a sense of comfort. Yeah. His community where he grew up, it was rough. Yeah. So that also gave him entitlement to say that. But he doesn't know who's listening or who feels what on what end. Yeah. And so he said that, and he obviously got called out by family and said, you know what? You shouldn't say that. And he's, no, man, but I'm just saying it because it's true. So there's the justification that just because something is true, you can just say what you want. And obviously, I was like, no, that don't play. But he said that. Now tell me, what is wrong with that statement, right? And how can I say, he justified it for himself because of who he is. Yeah. My perspective is wrong. I was like, bro, I said, when you say that and you generalize it, that's what makes it wrong. Because the reality is, every culture has people that don't swim.
That's what I was about to say, because I was like, is he thinking about people in his community? I was like you making a general statement, and speaking in general, that's you're saying a whole race of people. Yeah. That mean you're saying everybody is like that. That's not true. You haven't even met every person in that race to know that. So that type of general statement is like just kind of showing like he's kind of stuck in that mindset of just speaking on something that's like you don't even know what you're saying. You're just saying that, and that's the truth to you. That's like, and so that's the thing. I think he has to get out of his own way of thinking in that sense, and that's the thing he probably has to learn, that he has to not make general statements, and like he has to like know that like a statement like that is like offensive.
Yeah, like, I said, dude, really there might be 9 black people in here, but if the 10th one finds it offensive, he's gonna call you out. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the thing. He may have thought in a certain number of people that it's okay. I said, but dude, that doesn't matter. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, for me, I would have to find out why he said it, because I do understand that within the black community it is a joke that we say a lot, that we don't know how to swim. But it's the same thing as the watermelon thing, like how people have said to me before, like, you want some watermelon? I know you love watermelon. I don't even like watermelon. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where does that come from? So I just think you have to try to find out like why he said it. He may have grew up in an area where maybe there were a lot of black friends that he had that maybe made that joke a lot, and he probably felt comfortable saying it.
When can you own it? Because to me, it's like, dude, like, there's jokes that we make in the Latino community, and I know it is for us.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's the
exactly.
thing.
But
You
you gotta realize that, like, it's like,
You take it out of your circle, and
Yeah.
then I go say to another Latino community,
Right.
I might get slapped beside the head.
Exactly.
You say, like, forget out someone else saying it my direction.
Exactly.
Even just me within my circle.
Yeah.
So I mean, to
reading
me,
the room. You gotta know how to
Sometimes that's
read
what
the
it
room.
takes. Sometimes it takes for you to make the joke, for you to get slapped.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
But that's learning the hard way. That's the thing. A lot of people, some people learn the hard way. I don't like learning the hard way. I wanna like me. You gotta. For me, I like to learn like how to read the room.
Yeah.
Like I like to see how people are talking and how they that's me. I like reading the room.
Yeah.
Then you got to read the room. You got to read the crowd. You got to read the party. Whatever you're at, you just got to know how to.
Yeah.
You got to see like how people talking. You like, yeah, that's not a good joke to be saying in front of these people. That's not a. But everybody don't have that conscience. Like they don't think like that.
That's what I was gonna say. Like for me, I can understand how someone. I'm not gonna ever say like you shouldn't be offended by that.
Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah.
But for me, like I can take a joke. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. It's not. It just depends on how far you go. There's a line. There's a line. So.
Well, I mean, if you think about Chappelle's show, and it went too far. The laughs went too far. Like, and that line is blurred.
Yeah.
So for me, when he said it, and I was like, dude, you wrong. I said, you don't need to be saying that. Like it wasn't iffy or nothing. I was for sure like, dude, that is not even your joke.
Yeah.
Now, if you're hanging out with a bunch of kids that don't know nothing and it's mixed races in there and from every part of the, what do you, someone's going to call you out. I was like, but you're showing some ignorance.
Yeah.
And he said it so freely and so confidently that it bothered me. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to get your perspective because dealing with racism, I feel is like these comments, we got to find a way to talk about them. Like
Absolutely.
even like watermelon. If someone were to say, forget swimming, what if I said chicken or watermelon? Or you in trouble because it's a little bit worse.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me, but I feel like it's even worse.
Yeah.
But he crossed the line.
It's funny you say that because I know black people that don't like neither one.
Yeah.
Like so that's why I'm like saying certain things is like you like that's what I say you gotta read the room and you gotta like certain jokes is just like
I think it depends to like the origins of the joke.
Yeah.
Like if the origins of the joke go back to like our slavery days and stuff like that,
that's really not funny.
then that's
it's like whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a challenge.
Yeah, man.
And so
It
I
is.
think like people listening, if you have friends, find a spot or a way to be able to ask. Because I think a lot of people go through this and they hear these comments in their family parties or get-togethers, and then they just like laugh about it, and then it never comes up. You know what I mean? And so it's just like bring it up.
Yeah,
bring it up with
bring
some
it up.
brothers and say, dude, this is what I heard, man. Was I right or was I wrong?
Yeah.
In how I thought.
have that conversation. You have to have that conversation, especially if that friend is a friend, and they said something that sounded racist, like they're of another race, and that you felt like it was underlying racism.
Yeah.
you gotta, and you just like, that rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
you gotta have that conversation. Like, bro, you said this, I felt a way about it. But I don't think you realized that it was kind of racist. Like I felt the way, and let me tell you, because once you go out there and say something like that, other people are gonna feel offended.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, like I went through that with somebody in high school. He said something, and I was like, I'm only telling you this. This is a white guy. I was just like, I'm only telling you this because you're a friend of mine. But if you was to go around other black people and you say this, I'm like, they're not gonna take it as lightly as I just did.
Right.
So I've gone through that before, where I've told a friend of mine, like, you can't say that.
Yeah.
And if you say that around a group of black people, they're gonna look at you weird and like, why did you bring him here? But so I'm telling you as your friend to like not say that.
Yeah.
Like,
and they think because you take it lightly and you think it's a joke, they think that all of us are going to take it as a joke. And that's just like, no.
And so I think there's a level of comfort that people reach
yep.
that it doesn't help
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Because then they start crossing lines when you're comfortable. Should, as a community, should people be conscious and be careful about how they communicate, how they talk across races?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean? Because when you're comfortable, things slip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's important to learn. And thank you guys for sharing on that. You know what I mean? I'm going to make sure that I send this to him so that he can hear it, and I'll be like, dude, watch your mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally, that's what I just wanted to tell him. It's like, no, you don't own that. You don't get to do that. So guys, tell me, let's jump another. Here we go. We're gonna jump to another lane.
Okay.
Let's talk about your podcast right now. Tell me about what's coming up. Tell me about some of your goals, what we can expect as people begin to follow you and listen to you, and so what, as far as your podcast goes.
I could tell you, be ready for more music conversations.
Yeah.
Just things that are going on in the world. Like I was saying, we have a friend that's coming into the podcast one day. He's going to talk about finance.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing, of course, interviews of artists that we find that are great, and just giving them a platform to speak on their music and to people to broaden their audience. Also just more guests that are coming with like interesting topics and just about everything. Like I said, we talk about the culture, we talk about hip hop, but we talk about the culture. So we definitely I guess expect, of course, a new setup, a new everything. Cool. So
yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'll say all of that, and I want our conversations, because before we mainly focused on just I don't want to say it's one dimensional, but it was just mainly like hip hop. So, and I want to kind of focus on like other things. Yeah. So I want to, like how we're having conversations about all the stuff that we talked about here today, I want to be able to do this on our podcast.
Yeah.
And I think when we sit together next to each other, the chemistry is going to be so. We already have chemistry, period.
Yeah.
But the chemistry is going to be so much better, and I feel like you're going to be able to see it on screen.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready for that. I'm definitely ready for, like, before our podcast episodes were about an hour and a half, 2 hours long. I kind of want to shorten that.
Yeah, that's long.
Because a lot of people don't have time to sit around and listen to a 2 hour podcast all day. So I want to focus on that. Just better content, more guests, and everyone, not just artists. So we want to bring other people that talk about finance and everything. Just want to do everything.
Cool. So before we go to the end question of the podcast, you guys are podcasters, so y'all communicate, y'all have interviewers, and I'm going to put y'all on the spot, but I want everyone to kind of see your skills. So I want to pass the mic of a host to you guys and see if maybe y'all have a question for the Failed Podcast, and then I'll answer it, and then after that, then I'll wrap this thing up.
See, what's a question that I have?
I got a question.
Go for it. Hit me.
Yeah, no, I got a question. How did you get into podcasting? Like, what was the beginning for you? Like, what made you say, this is what I want to do? I want my voice to. I want to talk about failures and how people overcame it. Like, how did you?
It's a long story. I'm gonna try to make it really short. So I grew up. English was my second language, and it was my demise. Man, people looked down at me, and I was like horrible at reading and writing. But as I got older, I started doing some leadership stuff. I became a youth pastor. I started teaching and reading and writing. And slowly I started conquering my weakness from all those years growing up. Yeah. And I started becoming more confident in my words and how I speak. And I realized that out of my weakness, that was my strength, was communicating. And so I've been communicating for a long time. And I used to do radio with my mom before podcasting. And then I started my podcast stuff many years ago, before the hype, but it was small projects. I've produced a few podcasts for people. I've helped them. And then they used to be called Cultivate Leadership Project. And I would talk about leadership stuff before this whole COVID thing. And then we were running a nonprofit. We were helping some schools and, it's just like, dude, how to be a leader, blah, blah, blah. Right? Well, then COVID happened and I didn't work for a while. I had a bunch of failures, some business failures. Oh, dude, it was bad. And failure just kept coming up. And I found myself under that gray cloud, Yeah. And I told my wife, man, I don't know what I can't do leadership stuff. I was like, I don't even feel up to it. Like I'm gonna be fake. I'm gonna be lying. I said I'm done with it. I can't just do this positivity thing. Before, yes, because I was leading and I was coordinating a lot of things with a lot of people, and I had I was pouring into people as far as leadership, so it made sense. But that vanished. Yeah. But failure was very prominent. It was strong, and I failed at a few things. I failed at work. I failed at oh my God, forget it. But that's how I reinvented myself, and I said, you know what, I got to figure this out. And then I rebranded it. That's why when you look at my podcast, there's 80 or something more episodes, but they're all Cultivate stuff. I left them on because that is who I am still. Yeah. But now there's this like the last 20 episodes, they're the Failed Podcast, and that's my rebranding. That's my pivot, and that's my shift. And then I said, you know what? I love talking about failure. I love talking about challenges. And that's kind of why I ended up where I ended up. That's amazing. That's where the Failed Podcast came from.
That's amazing.
From my epic failures, man.
Yeah, and that's something that sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. No, that's something that everyone can relate to. Absolutely. Like what you're talking about, everybody can relate to it. But I do have one other question. I'm sorry, Taylorean.
No, you're good.
Because you mentioned that you worked in radio, and like a lot of the people that inspired me to start a podcast, they started out in radio. So I guess you could say that you kind of took what you learned from radio and brought it into podcasting.
Well, my mom was in radio. She was like worked in one of the first Latino Spanish-speaking Christian stations in the Metroplex about 25, probably 35 years ago. And it came here, so she was a DJ. So you're talking 8 tracks and stuff. Like that's how we would do the commercials. So I would sit in there because I was a hard knock and I was always out of school, suspended. So I would go with her to the station and I would run the board for her, and we would switch out the 8 tracks and we would do people would come in. And so I always saw my mom communicating, and then I was always there. I was watching the mics and everything, and that's how I did it, man. That's how I started, and I feel like I got it from my mom.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
And
that's
so
amazing.
And then after that, I was just, because of her, I was involved with radio, and then I've always liked to just share what I felt,
Yeah. So, I think my question would be like, where do you want to take this podcast? Like, do you want to take this further? Do you want to just leave it in like the Dallas community, or do you want to just talk to people all races, creeds, colors, and like go all over the states? And stuff
if Elon Musk gets to Mars, I'm going. No, I'm joking. No, yeah. The goal is big. I mean, the Failed Podcast. I believe the subject matter and the stories that we have can kind of. This is a stretch of a connection, but it's like TED Talks. Yeah. So when you go to TED Talks, you can say thinking and creating, and then you see all these branches of people that talk. I feel like that this is what it can become that. Yeah. And I feel like when I build a bigger community, as far as people I've interviewed, I could do panels for people, and that's the community aspect of it. And say, here we are, and I'm going to conduct a discussion about this subject, and then you can imagine some young people listening to it, but we're talking failure and overcoming, and they're learning. It's something like that. Okay. And hopefully it'll turn into a book one day about overcoming.
I would love to. I would love to read that.
And these are all case studies. Everything that I'm doing. And so that'll be that's big. But in the meantime, I just want to, obviously put Fort Worth on the map. I call myself. I want to be the Latino Joe Rogan of podcasting.
I think you're on your way, man.
Yeah, I definitely think you're on your way.
I think you're on your way, man.
And so I'll tag that when I say it. But so that's a little bit, man.
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity, man. We got to have you on the episode when we get our new setup. So absolutely, we would love to have you on our podcast for sure.
I'm there.
I definitely just want to say thank you too, because when we first met you at the podcast event, you could have been an a-hole and not gave us the game, but you told us the equipment. You kind of showed us. You brought out the little mic that you kind of recorded us on. You could have been, been like, no, like I'm not gonna tell you guys anything, but you told us all of it, and I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you for that.
Man, good vibes. When I wrap up the show, I like to ask my guests to tell me something about failure. Like, how do you define failure, or what positive message do you want to give to someone right now that's going through a failure? So whoever's up, go for it.
For me, I say failure is continuously. I say you're only failing when you quit trying.
Yeah.
Like keep trying. Just don't stop. Like that, just keep going. Like that's what it is with me. Like people be like, "Oh, you're so smart." I was like, "No, I just never give up." Like that's the thing about me. Like my genius is I don't give up. Like I'm just gonna keep. If the one thing not working, I'm gonna try something else. Then I'm gonna try something else. Then I'm gonna try something else. It's just I'm gonna keep going. Yeah. So that's the thing about me. I feel like genius is not. It's just into. It's just not giving up. So that's what I think. Just failure is when you just stop, when you give up. So like find what works for you, keep going, like continuously. One thing don't work, figure it out. Just, like, I feel like failure is when you continuously stop trying to figure it out. Like keep trying to figure it out as much as you can. Yeah. So that's what I think. Failure is either and I don't even want to say failure. I want to say like I either learn, like I kept trying, or like just learn. I don't even want to say I failed. I just learned, and it's gonna lead me to the next thing. So even if that was a quote unquote failure, it wasn't a failure. I just learned from it. So
I love it, man.
Yep. I just want to tell everybody that in order for you to reach success, you have to fail.
Absolutely.
Like and failure creates thick skin. In this superficial world that we live in today, we just talked about Elon Musk earlier. He failed 1 million times and finally was able to get to where he is today. So yeah, just what he said, keep going at it, and in order for you to get to where you want to be, you're going to have to fall down and get back up. You're going to have to fall down and get back up, fall down and get back up. So keep going at it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you guys for listening to the Failed Podcast, and thank you to our guests from the T&T Podcast?
T&T Podcast.
Yes. There it is, man. Take a listen. I'm going to put the links below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you got any questions or comments, please send them my way. Understand that in every episode, I do my best to produce and have a great conversation with whoever's here. But sometimes I fail at it. But just because I fail doesn't mean I'm going to quit. So in that case, I'll see y'all on the next one.
Yes,
guys,
sir.
Thank you so much for coming in.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.